you. Okay, this is 10.7 and it's on modeling. This goes along with the worksheet too. And all you really need to understand is that sometimes in real life you're not going to get data that falls in a straight line. I took these shots out of your book. Sorry, it's kind of cheesy, but that's the only way I can figure out how to scan pictures into this program right now. And so if you take a look right here, this is SUV gas mileage. So gallons per gallon, or gallons on the x-axis and distance on the y-axis. And so not always, like on this one, you're always going to get the same gas mileage. And so you can see that when they connected the lines, or connected the dots, it did make a straight line. So those points are part of that line. Now if you wanted to write an equation, because you're going to have to write equations from lines that you draw, the easiest way is y equals mx plus b form. You already know that the m is slope and the y is, or the b is y-intercept. And so you can see the y-intercept is 0. So I can put a 0 in for b. Okay, the slope I can find because I can look at how far it rises from one point and then runs to another. So let me see if I can do this. If you look at this point right here, I rise up 1 and run 1, but that doesn't mean my slope is 1, 1. Think about what I just rose, 30 miles, and then move to the right 2 gallons. So the slope is 30 over 2. Okay, then you need your x in there. So you could simplify that to y equals 15x. You don't need the plus 0. That's probably the easiest way to write an equation from a line that you draw. You could also put points in for x and y and the slope and find b, but you already know b, so there's no sense in doing that. If you look down here, what they were trying to show you is that on this one, this is a federal prison population, and it doesn't stay consistent, where gas mileage would stay consistent all the time, and the rate would always be the same. If you're getting 15 miles per gallon, you're getting 15 miles per gallon. As well, I guess you wouldn't if you were driving in town or freeway, but they're going to say the gas mileage is about 15 miles per gallon. But here on the federal prison, it's going to kind of go up and down. But what you can do, what they do is draw a line that falls in between all the lines. And that means that not every point is on this equation. And so they'll ask you things like, do all the points fall on this equation? This is no, not all the points will fall on this equation. But this is a line, or I can make an equation to my line that's the best fit to that linear model. So if now I take a look at these two graphs, I think one came out of your textbook, one came out of a different textbook. If I asked you to write an equation to the catering fees, can you write the equation? So go ahead and pause it, try to write an equation to catering fees, which is this one, and then try to write one to the moving van costs. And then come back and see if you were okay. So on the catering fees, I know that I want both equations in y equals mx plus b form. That's a slope-intercept form. So slope, intercept. Oops, I should say y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to go y equals, and the y-intercept is easy to find on this. It's at 200. So I can go ahead and put a 200 at the back end where the b would be. Then the slope, it goes up 1 box and over a box, but that doesn't mean it's 1, 1. Up 100 over 5. So it's 100 over 5x. And if I simplify that, I get y equals 20x plus 200. If I'm not sure if I'm right, I should be able to take a point, plug it in, and see if it works. Remember, the equations, you can always plug a point in, and any point on this line, and this line wasn't perfect, I can see now where it didn't cross at whole numbers up here. So I don't think the slope really is 100 over 5, but it's close. But I should be able to take any point on this line and plug it into my equation, and it should work. Okay, so take a look at this one. I have y equals This one's crossing at 30, so I'm going to put a 30 back here. The slope looks like it's up 1 box and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So up 1 over 4, but that's up 10. And each one is 5, so it's over 20. So the equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 30. So practice that. You can pull graphs off the internet and try to write equations to it, or let me know if you need a couple more. So on this one, I'm giving you the graph, but also asking some questions similar to what you'll be asked on the final. Okay, so I think I pulled this one out of a different textbook. It might have been out of yours, but so it says Paulina's Health Club has an enrollment fee of $175 and cost of $35 per month. The total cost as a function of a number of membership months is shown in the graph. Okay, so pretty soon I will take away the graph from these stories because I don't think they're going to give you the graph most of the time. They're probably going to give you the situation. So the way you write an equation from context is slope is always the rate. So the thing that happens over. So if you think about this, the cost is $35 per month. So that's an easy way to pull out your slope. It's 35 every 1 month. And then the y-intercept is always where it starts. Like if there's an enrollment fee or if there's a flat fee, like if you're hiring a plumber and there's a flat fee of $50 and then $25 an hour or whatever it is. And so that will be your where it starts, your y-intercept. 175. So if I'm going to write an equation, I have y equals 35x plus 175. Done. And they'll become easier and easier. But the hardest thing is to know which one is the slope and which one is the y-intercept. Y-intercept is always where you start, and the slope is always the rate. And so if you think about it that way, it might be a little bit easier. Then it says identify the slope and y-intercept, describe their meanings. They'll have quite a few on the final like that where you have to describe what's happening. So if I had to describe the meaning of the slope, that is the rate at which you pay per month. And it says per month up here. So you can just say cost per month. And then for the y-intercept, that's how much, that's a joining fee. So you can say joining fee. Sometimes they'll have the graph and have you explain it without the story so that there's nothing that kind of tells you joining fee, cost per month. You have to pull it off with a graph. Then it says find the cost of 1 year membership. So you could plug a 1 into this equation pretty easily, because if you want to find 1 year, you could also find it by just looking at the graph. Following 1 year. Whoops. Read the question. So that's going to be, 1 year is going to be when the months are 12. So you could plug a 12 into there. I guess you couldn't see it from the graph because the graph doesn't go that far. But I could go y equals 35 times 12 because it's 12 months and that's 35 per month plus 175. And then I could solve that. So if I just gave you this graph and asked you some questions, estimate the y-intercept for me. You can pause it if you want. Well, the y-intercept's about 3. Okay, and we can see that right there. And then what if I asked you, what is the slope? Well, the slope looks like it's up 1 over 2. The reason I say up 1 is these are going by 2s, and you can see it's from 3 to 4. Whoops, I can't draw my pen that tiny. 3 to 4, and then over 2 minutes. Okay. Then if I asked you, what is the meaning of the slope? What would you say? So the meaning is the rate at which he walks. And you should be specific. You could say he's walking 1 block every 2 minutes. I think I said miles last time. So 1 block every 2 minutes. You want to be as specific as you can when you're on the test to write everything you can think about. And then if I asked you, what does the y-intercept mean? If he's walking to school from his house, that means he lives 3 blocks from school. Sorry, that's his school. I need to get a different pen. Okay, so those are the kinds of things that you could pull out from a story like that. If I asked you, is he walking away or is he walking towards? He's walking towards school. Is that a positive or negative slope? That's a positive slope. I'm trying to think of all the questions they could ask you. How far is he away when he's 8 minutes in? Well, then you could look at the 8 and say, well, at 8 minutes he's 7 blocks from his house. Do we know when he reaches the school? We can assume it's that. But what if the graph going? Oh, I guess it doesn't go on because you can't see anything there. So we could assume his school is 10 minutes away from his house and it's 8 blocks away from his house. So here's another story, and if I asked you, tell me what the slope is, and tell me the meaning of it, and tell me what the y-intercept is, and tell me the meaning of it. Okay, so remember what I said about slope, you're looking for rate. So if a total of 2 inches of rainfall before noon, and if the rain falls at a rate of 1/2 inch per hour, then y equals 1/2 x plus 2 models the total rainfall x hours past noon. So what's the slope? 1/2. What does that mean? It means it's a 1/2 inch before or per hour. And then what's the y-intercept? The y-intercept is 2. If this was gone, would you be able to do this problem? Would you see that the 2 is your starting point? Because if there's already 2 inches and then it's 1/2 inch per hour. Okay, I'll try to give you a couple more of these because the worksheet is really important to do. Those story problems on the worksheet came from the people who wrote your final one, so those will give you some really good practice. So what if I gave you this problem? A candle is 4 inches long and it burns 3 centimeters each hour, and I asked you to write me an equation to that. What would the slope be? Now remember, slope is rate. So the slope is going to be 3 centimeters per 1 hour. The y-intercept is where you start, so it's going to be 4 inches long. Okay, so if I wrote that in an equation, it is burning down, so I want to make sure my slope is negative, because think about what it would look like if this was time and this was the wick. This is 0, so it should be going from 4 down. And so if you think about that, that's got to be negative slope, because if I pick a point on the line and another point, I rise up and run backwards. Okay? Or you can think about it as going down and backwards. So it's got to be negative slope. So I can write y equals negative 1 or negative 3 over 1 x. Don't forget the x. Plus 4 because it starts at 4 inches. So think about positives and negatives too. Sometimes I'll graph it to figure out the equation of the slope.